Did you get like a pirate stream for watching the game? Because you said you couldn't log into Apple, right?
No, I logged into Apple. It was just shitty, and it was so pixelated.
Nice.
Well, it's like on my computer, it's fine, but I think Apple.
If you're on an Android phone or like Google Chrome.
Oh, I don't even do it on my phone. But so like I went to the other room in my apartment and logged on in a browser like it's fucking 2007 or something, you know.
Damn. Down bad.
Can you believe it? I know, right? It's like it was like on Netscape or something. And I logged in and then I tried to Chromecast it, and I think Apple is intentionally just like
No, did you watch it on Chrome?
Well. Yeah.
They might be just throttling Chrome.
No, I'm certain they are.
Did you try it on Safari?
Well, I can't Chromecast
Or
from Safari.
our sponsor, Opera GX.
Is that still around?
No, Opera. They made a gamer browser now.
Oh, okay.
Their marketing is like, this uses the least amount of processing, so you can use all of your computer power on gaming.
Hopefully, once this TV deal is over, it'll be MLS season pass on Lenovo TV.
Oh yeah, I tried to stream it from the Steam browser. Actually, it didn't work very well.
Damn.
And no, I'm convinced. I'm not even joking that I'm sure Apple is throttling Chrome. So then it was pixelated, but I was just like, I don't know, I want to watch this on my TV. Fuck it, I want to lay on the couch and slowly fall asleep, not sit at my computer. And it was pixelated enough where I couldn't like actually cleanly make out the clock. So at the second half, at one point I thought, oh, it's like the 80-something minute. That's good. There's only 10 minutes left. And then all of a sudden it ticks over, and I'm like, that doesn't look like a 9. That looks more like a 7. Oh, and then I checked the app, and I was like, oh, God, it was the 60-something minute, not the 80-something minute.
Now I had
like 25 minutes left.
I have a real easy fix for you here.
What?
Tim Apple, if you're listening, just send us an Apple TV.
Yeah, that's true.
Just like we will speak so well of Apple if you just send us an Apple TV.
Yeah, although it's got to be big though, because that LG TV that you got me that fell off the back of a truck, it's big, it's great.
It did evolve back. That's my high school family television.
Oh, I thought it actually fell off.
No, it's just like really old. I'm surprised it still works.
I feel like that's still not denying it.
That's
where
true.
we got it originally. Okay,
Yeah.
I mean,
They had trucks back then.
Okay, Sam, way to come in from the interrogation room.
Well, like the last time
From
you were at
behind
my
the
place,
mirror.
you were like, "Wow, I can't believe you still have this piece of shit." And I was like, "This is the nicest TV I've ever had." It's episode 244, I believe. I opened my phone to look this up. Yeah, it's episode 244 of View from 202. It's the four of us. Sam is joining remotely again while he still sits in the vat of healing gel at Hospital for Special Surgery.
That's right.
And this time we recorded him the first time around.
Oh, thank God. Although the listeners will, I think just have to rest assured that our patter last time that wasn't recorded was just the world's best patter. And
It was pretty good.
yeah,
It was like an 8 out of 10.
it's pretty good.
By our standards.
Yeah, it's like a Ohio 11. I guess Illinois would have been more to the point, but
They're actually listening to this podcast from your version of the TV that they still have in their living room.
my TV's nice. Fuck you guys. It was a 1-1 draw. Actually, just go ahead and clip that and loop it every week. That was a 1-1 draw for the Red Bulls this week.
Late equalizer.
Late equalizer off of a set piece, not
classic
from the run of
salad
play.
result.
Yeah, nothing but salad away. Corey Burke, first goal. That's
love
been
that.
something we've been looking forward to.
Love it.
Yeah, I thought it would.
There's finally some milestones being met this year.
Yeah, one of the few bright spots this season, both in terms of his play and just general energy. So that was nice. But yeah,
although apparently he's supposedly both through the halftime subs and the chatter you're hearing, he's supposedly the new whipping boy. Player who's not the striker, I should say, not even just player, new striker who is not
fully fit for 90 minutes.
No, who's just not following the rules. Who's just not.
Oh, because he's like
playing soccer.
Because he's doing like interplay and like passing.
Yeah, or just not focusing his
Yeah.
entire game and all of his energy on pressing.
I was gonna say though, like we could just get to the meat of the real sports that we watched this week and the shambles that we saw at Citi Field. We'll just call the game off an inning earlier, you know? It's 0-0, or just like, you know, call it a delay, you know? Like they clearly put it in.
Explain to the folks at home what happened.
So on Friday, we went to Citi Field to watch the game. 4 innings in,
we did, and to our great surprise,
To our white surprise,
there were soccer lines on the field in left fields, putting Starling Marte at perilous, Mark Kana at perilous danger, making him play. Although maybe it's going to awaken his deep Portuguese soul one of these weeks. But not only were there soccer lines, but
during the regular season, it's not even playoff lines, you know. We will go in there. It's still kind of drizzling for a little bit. It slowly gets more intense as the game gets on. In terms of rainfall, we start getting soaked. Mm-hmm. But until the fourth inning or so, it was 0-0.
It was a real pitcher's duel.
Yep.
Hard to tell how much of it was the pitchers actually dealing and how much of it just being kind of nasty.
But one bad inning happens for the Mets. They call the whole game.
And it was exactly the point at which it became a legal game, too.
Yeah, but I mean, they didn't call the game immediately. They gave us enough time to realize that we were Hudson Whiskey Club VIPs.
That's true.
So we got to do the Long Island man cave hockey experience for 2 hours before they actually called the game.
Got ourselves a nice big little decadent donut.
Yeah.
This is a crucial character development plot point for
we were basically cosplaying as Nassau County sheriffs.
Yeah, the gang joins the prawn cocktail brigade.
Yeah.
Cork has shown us the light. I will never say anything bad. I paid some guy $600 to park my SUV on the sidewalk. I screamed at 4 people on the way in, and I tipped the donut people and the Banana Mama person with the $400 and said, "Keep the change." But I made them give it back to me when my kid didn't notice I'd done it yet, so then I could do it louder so my kid could notice I was spending all the money.
Yeah, I mean, if anyone at the Red Bull propaganda
there's
Kevin Finnerty.
Yeah, there's like a 1 in 200,000 chance that is the last thing you think about before you die. Yeah. That moment. If every day in your life has like a equal chance, like that's in there. It is a roulette. It's a roulette board.
Damn.
I mean, it could be worse. It's probably going to be worse, options. So, but it is the real Kevin Finnerty vibe. That really set the tone.
It couldn't be as bad as me doing that in an extended stay in Newark, Delaware last year. That one dampens the glamour a little bit.
I only brought up that anecdote to show that I have become radicalized as a baseball fan via that experience.
Oh yeah. But hey, we played a blinder though because we nicked 5 got our vouchers back. Papa Cohen delivered. I don't even know if it's their call, but even though it was counted as a legal game, they gave us vouchers to pick any other Monday through Thursday
I choose
game.
to believe that it was part of Fred Wilpon's deal with Bernie Madoff that they would be required to pay for vouchers for any rained out Mets game in perpetuity. So thank you, Fred and Bernie. I'm choosing to sidestep Cohen.
Haddad has not Venmo'd me for the tickets yet, so I'm going to send him a reminder right now.
Are you going to send it to him in the version of City Police?
What?
You can send them a squad of city police to remind them.
Oh my God, I wish I could do that. Yeah, the Brooklyn specific, security forces. No, alas.
You could be an occupying.
Yeah. No, we really maximized our sports with that though, because now we will get to ideally attend a different game, at some point to let's go Mets all over the place. Although the only game that we're not allowed to pick is the Subway Series. So, go figure.
We'll have to buy those tickets separately.
Well, the Red
we have
Bulls
our
played.
own Subway series coming up, thankfully.
Oh wow, yeah. What a week! I was, as we were saying before we hit record, I was sort of worried before this week that we might have to make a decision about what we're gonna do here. Like, what are we gonna talk about? Because I think we have addressed the issues at hand pretty well the last couple weeks, or I think it made sense to focus on the off the field issues, and the soccer's really been secondary. Also, it's been very poor and unremarkable. So that's really been the focus this week, and I think that's kind of true with this Chicago result as well. But we do also have an interesting series of fixtures in this next week ahead. 3 games in 1 week that will provide some interesting fodder for food for thought for what to think about as a Red Bulls fan in this coming week on this exciting finale of View from 202. But 1-1 Chicago, an away point seized by Jamai and Corey Burke, righteously striking to get us a cheeky away point at the end. Cork, you had a sort of I don't know, brave take on this. You did issue a take accompanied with the Norman Rockwell painting of the guy advocating for not rebuilding the school.
Yeah.
Would you want to tee us up with that? What were you advancing there?
Well, I mean, I as I kind of stated in the tweet thread, I think there's an element, and I kind of touched on this last week, where people just assume, oh well, they're only losing just because there's no finishes, and they're actually doing well otherwise. Normally not true. This week, there's a little bit more going on, I thought. Certainly, got some attention that the first 20 minutes or so, team's able to rattle off a couple decent chances. The most notable one being Elias Manuel kind of smashing it off the bar after getting kind of one of those kind of pretty trademark kind of vertical Red Bull look, just kind of advancing the ball quickly and just shooting the first time you see the whites of their eyes. And that was encouraging, and I thought especially in the face of Chicago playing some pretty decent soccer. I mean, mind you, every team, it seems like, is kind of forced into playing decent soccer by this team, because we press, but not that successfully. So teams, if they just move the ball kind of quickly, they can get around us, and it results in some pretty attractive play. And that's what you saw from Chicago. And their goal was sort of an example of some of the exact kind of just, real sort of bog standard build-up play that any soccer team can choose to use at any time.
Kai Kamara scored like 700 of those goals.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Just pretty.
Who scored a few of those? This is a name older Red Bulls fans might remember. Bradley Wright Phillips.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and just I should also add that it was a very bog standard kind of MLS goal, and it was scored on us by again, for the second week in a row, one of the worst teams in the league, worst teams in the conference. And, in a vacuum, sure. 1-1 draw is nice, but, in not a vacuum, when you actually look at the context, it's another couple points dropped against a team where team at the Red Bulls at this point, the trajectory should easily be beating. But all that being said, like kind of Brit teed me up with, I thought there was a little bit more action and a little bit more kind of purpose to the way the team played. We actually we did a post on the podcast account earlier about the passing chart, which is still a bit of a mess, and certainly the strikers are on an island, but it was this week a little more symmetrical than we've gotten used to seeing. And you could kind of see that in the eye test on the actual game, that players were just kind of moving a little more intuitively, and there was a little bit more purpose to the way the team was combining and building up. But that was a little bit out of character for this team. What was very in character for this team of recent times is that they have those couple chances in the first 20 minutes or so, and then the rest of the game is just kind of a slog. The team, loses step on pressing. The other team sort of settles in, obviously gets a goal. There's the subs kind of chopping up the rhythm of things. And then I think it was Profe Mapu who was saying that by the end of the game, we're just kind of chasing things and snatching at things rather than having kind of imposed our game on the other team. And it's just pretty routine, certainly this season, and going back to the end of last season. I mean, it's been almost a year now of this team, 3 wins in the last 16, barely ever scoring more than 1 goal, if that. And, injuries are what they are, even though it's, players who supposedly are still not good fits for the system. Suspensions are what they are, even though it was a player who wasn't really contributing that many goals before the big incident last month. And, bottom line is that even if you think this is, the worst squad in MLS history, we're supposed to have a $2 million manager in his 3rd year of implementing his system, and it's rock bottom. You would expect that third year of his system supposedly has the squad more built to his liking as of the last couple transfer windows, and one win out of 10 is just even with the injuries and suspensions, is below par management. I mean, that's this team, again, even if you think it's the worst squad in the league, the other end of that is supposed to be that, we have a $2 million primo Ferrari Red Bull manager, and this is the output when there's even, little bit of hardship.
Well, actually, Ferrari and Red Bull are rivals in F1.
Sorry, I knew I was stepping on that the second I said it.
But I mean, like, I think you're even giving Chicago like maybe a little too much. I mean, they did play like good football against us due to necessity, I think, but in spurts, and in a way where they largely didn't even like really play the most optimal game plan against us too. I feel like.
They were playing with Kai Kamara up top, who again, like, obviously scored the goal and is, the great aerial threat, but not really a fluid link-up guy.
Right, but they also like tried to.
They were still able to do
maintain possession too against us. Like they didn't let us have the ball and let us fumble over our own feet like a lot of other teams have. And to that point, like Chicago are also a team that have been notorious for dropping these late goals while holding a lead. Right, so I don't like. Like we look bad against a bad team too, right? So it's just we're not kind of the old us. We're really, I mean, the way that people are like I guess the press conference is talking about it is that we were dominant, but is that even true if Chicago scored a goal against us so easily like that, and then just kind of like held on to that game state for however long throughout the game, and just kind of conceded at the end because they're not a good team, and we also didn't really play above their level in any kind of way either. To your point, Cork, like we're not really set up in a way where our players are being put or coached into a successful formation or team or effort.
No, I think it's a bad sign that will, kind of what my assessment is, that it's a bad sign that this is probably, or that was probably the ceiling of where this team can play right now. That was the best performance that I've seen from this team in about a month or so, and all it was good for was 1-1 against one of the worst teams in the conference.
No goals from the run of play.
Yeah.
Still, and I suppose we're bearing the lead. We are bottom of the Eastern Conference now. In danger of hitting the drop, Gerhard, your one specialty.
No, I mean, there's no universe where 1 win out of 10 is acceptable. I mean, it's, has there been bad luck with injuries and stuff? Yeah, but I mean, that's a manager's job, is to overcome that. A manager's job is to make sure that a few injuries isn't enough for the team to go up in last place.
Yeah, and to your point, I think one thing that we've hit on before is, to this idea of, like, even if you think the squad is bad, the supposed benefit or real kind of quirk of this pressing system,
right,
is that it's supposed to give you a high floor, even if you've got youth players or sub or below replacement players.
Right.
We don't have that at all. This is the floor. This is the real floor that we've hit here, and it's to pull in another comparison we've made a couple times this season. It still is completely different vibe, different scenario than like the 2016 season, where you just kind of felt like the ball was literally bouncing the wrong way. Like that is not really the vibe here. I don't think anyone really feels like we deserve to score in any of these cases. None of the goals have been like particularly hard done by for us, like in terms of bad luck or bad calls or anything like that. The injuries are not nearly as severe or critical as, say, like 2016 was with the center backs. I think, there's some key parts missing here, but it's a case where like the whole is greater than the sum of its parts, but like in a negative way, like the dysfunction seems to be bigger than just missing a few ingredients. The whole thing is just really bottomed out. The vibes have never been worse, suffice it to say. The vibes are just real bad. And I think after these last 2 weeks, it's been a real case study or object lesson, and you can really not expect the Red Bulls to get a win anywhere now.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a thing where it's like, I mean, obviously our feelings on Struber and his status as the manager is well known for listeners of this podcast, but also, I mean, just again to repeat or to give kind of the state of the situation here again, to repeat what I was saying a minute ago, where it's like, yeah, Struber has been dealt a little bit of a hard hand this season, but that's what management is. And he's also failed at that tough hand he's been dealt. He fumbled the racism incident. He's fumbled having a few injuries and has the team in last place. He's fumbled, having any sort of respect for the fans, and, no sympathy, That's the job you signed up for, and you're fucking up at it.
Even if you were to take this season into a vacuum, we're like almost a third of the way through this season. It's not tenable to have less than a point per game at this club.
Yeah.
Again, I guess the idea now, the latest, rationale for why he's still around is, again, this idea that, the underlying metrics are so good, and that, the second that, like Brit said, the ball starts bouncing our way, we're going to, charge back to the top of the table. I don't know how anybody who actually watches this team week in, week out can see that on the horizon whatsoever. It's just a mess. And you would think it'd be a pretty obvious fix for a normal soccer club to just kind of hit the reset button, but apparently that's not going to happen, at least in the near future. Maybe this next week of games shakes things up a little bit, but we'll see.
Yeah. honestly, being at rock bottom now could even make it easier. I think it would make it easier to hit the reset, because then whatever interim situation you get, it's like really there's nothing you could do worse kind of at this point. I mean, I guess you could start, we're eking out these draws. I guess you could start losing by multiple goals, but in terms of results, in terms of like saying, all right, we need to just sort of rebuild this team and how we play, like there's really no pressure at this point to like keep us above the line or anything, because it's just like we're not trending anywhere in that direction already. So there's nothing to really hold on to here. It's like it still beats me what the rationale for keeping Struber around even is. Like it's the prospect that we're just keeping around to the summer until he leaves or his contract expires naturally is just so humiliating to think about. It's like the smallest club type thing I can imagine. It's kind of painful, really.
Only Peter Vermees seems to be making him look good at this point.
Well,
And
I
Greg
mean,
Vanny, but-
you know, and those guys at least have results, you know? Mm-hmm. Like, Gerhard Struber's never won anything in his career. He's never even... his best achievement is finishing 4th with the Red Bulls last year. That's his best achievement in his managerial career. Arguably keeping Barnsley up, maybe, but that's really thanks to a points deduction for Derby. And his immediate successor at Barnsley did much better. So, food for thought. I do think the funniest or most interesting thing that happened in this match was towards the end. For unclear reasons, John Tolkien was getting boos from the crowd, and nobody really seemed to know why, but then it seems that, and this is...
They were talking on the broadcast a little bit that it might have been some like random thing like on a corner kick where he might have made a gesture, but by the end of it, nobody could figure out exactly why.
Yeah, and it somebody posted on the RBNY subreddit a question asking, and somebody linked to the Fire subreddit where the consensus was just like, yeah, I don't know, we kind of just got tired of his whole deal and just started booing him.
You know, fair enough.
And I just remarked, it's wild how much more I vibe with that energy than anything coming with it from our club right
That's
now.
like very honest though.
Yeah,
you know?
but
It's like,
also I think it speaks to like what a boring and terrible game we put on for them, where they're just like, you know what, fuck this.
We're
Like,
just going to yell at the kid with the hair.
yeah, it's like clearly he, you know, and it reminds me of the first game we went to post-COVID down in Philly. I guess, was this the second game we went to technically? I remember it as our first game back, that away game, where there was just those kids behind us who just started yelling mullet at John Tolkien. And it took us like 20 minutes to figure out who they're even talking about. Similar kind of thing. I guess when you're just bored and have forgot kind of why you're there in the first place, it just...
Makes sense to say, oh, that guy's got pretty crazy hair, though.
Guy's wacky. What if there was a left back who had kind of wacky hair? Wouldn't that be crazy?
never happened before.
Now, what if you were a Star Wars character?
Oh, funny story. This shelf behind me came down today. My John Tolkien Star Wars bobblehead finally broke, so
Whoa. I didn't know that you even had one.
I did, and it, maybe a good omen, maybe a bad omen. Who knows?
No, but that is kind of a nice microcosm of everything. And it's not a knock on John Tolkien. He seems like a nice guy and everything, but it's
Right.
just
It's not
he's
his
an all right
fault.
player. But it's just the idea that the best thing going on is this kind of teenage left back who may or may not have a quirky personality is sort of slim pickings for this club these days on what to get excited about.
Yeah, I'm almost tempted to just be like, let him live.
Is he still a teenager?
Oh, I think
like
actually
20
he's
now.
like 2021 now.
Okay, I
but
do
yeah.
kind of feel like the end of 2001: A Space Odyssey, where like he's just walking through that room, rapidly aging,
right.
but with like that and like John Tolkien, like all of a sudden being a 28-year-old
The one that's
MLS free
crazy.
agent.
The one that's crazy is Tom Barlow is like 29 or something now.
Yeah, well, he was always he like went to 4 years of college, right?
Right.
So that freaks me out less, I guess. But yeah, well, you should replace your Jamai bobblehead with the Francisco Lindor New York Presbyterian bobblehead. We're gonna get in a couple weeks. Or was it Cars for Kids bobblehead or something?
I thought you were gonna say I should get this Luquinha Star Wars Night bobblehead, but I don't.
No, I don't know what any of those words mean.
Don't think I'm gonna try. Yeah.
Is that like one of the characters that was in the clip of like Lizzo and Jack Black?
Right. It was
like playing
right next to Glupshido.
Yeah. Luquinhas, is that that's a new Star Wars character? That doesn't sound like a Red Bulls player.
He comes from the Brazilian planet.
George Lucas would be like, oh yeah, our new planet, Brasilia. Man, are we sure that's not what Naboo was?
I do suppose the beginning of Star Wars Episode 1 was a deforesting scene, wasn't it?
Yeah, the Jedi have arrived to escort the Naboo president back from Disney World in a Minions-themed plane. That's based. I feel like that's kind of what happened. That's my general memory of what happened.
Sam, how did you enjoy the game over the weekend?
Yeah, it was a fucking blast. The New York Red Bulls.
Well, we've got more
Red Bull action.
got more lined up. Got 3 games this week because the Open Cup did its draw. So that means the Red Bulls are slated to play Philadelphia.
Just real quick, we are going to have a special edition episode about the Open Cup because, the Open Cup is special.
Yeah.
It's the only real soccer tournament in this country and needs to be treated as such. So we will get that extra content out for you shortly. But
on the
for
Patreon.
now, yeah.
I know many of you listen on the Jacobin radio stream. You don't listen to this on our own stream. So if you're listening there, make sure to go to our Patreon. God. We're playing Philadelphia on Saturday. And then on Tuesday, we're playing DC, none other than Wayne Rooney, and Christian Benteke, fresh off of, get this, scoring a goal in the run of play. Big stuff.
Real sick goal, too.
And then the next Saturday is the first derby of the year. Yeah, I'm insisting on saying derby still instead of derby. Is this the earliest derby? I'm getting ahead of myself. Potentially the earliest derby. But
yeah, for a while.
But that that 7-0 game happened real early. It was like 7 or like 8 games.
It was June or July.
And the 5-1 game was Cinco de Mayo.
Right. Okay. That's probably the earliest. But kind of running the gauntlet here. And it's a funny contrast because, in most other seasons, this would be like the biggest week of the season. I mean, maybe I guess it sort of still is the biggest week of the season for us, but the vibes would be different. You know what I mean? It would be very different. It would be a real sort of test of strength, but also sort of a gut check for the pride of the club. Here we are, where the pride of the club is kind of already gone, already disappeared a bit, already in the gutter. Everyone feels real, at best apathetic, I would say, about the club results. At worst, kind of just wanting it to be over and moving on to the next. So we're faced with a situation we're going to be playing Philly, who has kind of been in rocky form. I mean, I guess they've been prioritizing the CCL, right? But are the, reigning Eastern Conference champions, if you will, top team in the East last year. We've got DC, who, in years past, Eric Sorga did deliver us out of the Armis zone. Are we in the zone still? Maybe.
Waza zone.
Yeah, yeah. And on Saturday, it's the Derby again. And DC City have been sort of not as bad as I would have liked, but also still not great. They lost last weekend to Toronto, firmly sort of mid-table. They're playing better than we are, but then again, literally everyone is playing better than we are. So is this a potential week for change? Do you think? Do you think if losing to Montreal, the worst team in the league, and then falling to proper bottom of the table isn't enough to incite something, do you think this week has the potential to actually do it? And do you think there's potential for changes to happen in the middle of this 3-game span, or or do you think Struber's going to see this week out no matter what? Because
All 3 games at home.
They are. Which does look weird when you look at like the fixture list. It just is. It really pops off the page that we've got 3 home games in a row.
Well, the good news is season's done after this week for sure.
Well, I guess Tuesday's at Montclair. So, make sure to gas up the vehicle for that one. But yeah, it's Saturday at home against Philadelphia, Tuesday at Montclair against DC, and Saturday at home against City. Because I think to the extent that I still feel dread or increased dread any more than I already do, I think my least preferred scenario would be that we get past Tuesday and Struber's still around. We've lost and it still doesn't matter. And we're looking at the scenario where we're wondering, man, is City going to finally get this guy fired? Because obviously you never want to be in that position for a derby match, even as bad as it is. Because like when DC beat us and Armas finally got fired, it's like, as we've discussed a million times, the heat has been drained from the DC rivalry. In a way, it's kind of funny and fitting that is what happened.
And that's been like the height of the rivalry for the last like half decade.
Yeah. But God, it would still be extra humiliating for City to beat us when we're this bad. And also it'd be weird if we ground out a result. Maybe this is all lining up where we get our first win in like 2 months by beating City next Saturday or 2 Saturdays from now.
Could be. It's interesting to think about. I mean, kind of like when the Sorga moment happened and when Armas got fired, you didn't necessarily see it coming because much like now, back then, everything had become a bit of a fog and you just had gotten used to expecting nothing and that, you were just constantly going to be in those doldrums. And then one morning you wake up and, they've hit the reset button. So yeah, supposedly that could come at any moment. Doesn't matter whether it's a 3-game week or not. But in this current 3-game week, yeah, I mean, kind of to reiterate what I was saying earlier, I mean, these recent results, not only been bad, but they've been against some of the worst teams in the league and the conference. This will be a bit more of a litmus test, obviously. Like Brit said, it'll be interesting to see if we actually end up grinding out results against some of these better caliber teams. But if not, I mean, what could be the next kind of landmark to be met? Which could be a team opening us up for 3-4 goals maybe. I mean, the fact that these 3 games are coming in such quick succession probably also limits any potential for injury returns to boost us at all, whether that be Morgan or Luquinhas or Amaya or whoever supposedly has been the key to all this, as we keep saying, who's been missing. But I have one thing that, with that just popped into my head is that maybe gives us a chance to see Drew Yearwood play more than 5 minutes for the first time this season. But that might be a little Easter egg. Beyond that, it generally just does feel like these games are going to come within the same fog that, a lot of the late Armas era games came in. I mean, Philly, has been kind of, been mostly, some pretty good kind of cagey, tense games the last few years, but they've generally had the edge. And then City ended up, getting the last laugh at the end of last year with the game where Struber guaranteed the win and then ended up doing his water bottle thing. Already kind of downward momentum on the Derby with City. Not like there's anything to really preserve with that game. It's more kind of a correction, but then again, like Brit said, if this team in this current state ends up just kind of randomly snatching results, I think that's pretty kind of textbook Armas zone. And I'll add this too, since the Armas zone was kind of an offshoot of a theory about the Jurgen Klinsmann zone. I guess I'll say that the Gerhard Struber zone that we now find ourselves in 3-4 years later, its analog is the Steve Keane Venky's zone.
Okay.
For you history buffs who remember when Blackburn Rovers were relegated from the Premier League under Steve Keane, the almost universally hated manager who was inexplicably kept in place by the Venky's ownership group as they continued to float towards the bottom of the table. And he also was pretty frequently defiant in his press conferences and rude with fans as well. He was also kind of a bald, high-strung guy. Kind of neat little game to play, I think, when you think about the Keane and Struber parallels, as I have been more and more the last few weeks.
That's funny. Minus all the league championships, that's also what I think of Pep Guardiola. So,
All right.
At least they've got chicken, though. We've got salad.
We've got sugar water and salad.
Yeah.
Maybe, if you remember the rooster who ran on the field with the Blackburn flag around it, that was kind of the high watermark of that, Blackburn Venky's era. Maybe we can get some kind of bull calf, and put him in a club scarf and get him to run on the field for the Derby.
I was going to joke that we should get bought by Vincent Tan so that we could just get our colors changed to blue overnight.
That'd be
but
cool.
But one, I mean, doesn't he is an owner for LAFC.
Oh yeah.
And two,
what a great part of that wonderful ownership group. Thank you, Vincent Tan.
Two, half the time we wear blue anyway, so it's like joke's on us. Can't even fuck that up. Although I think someone should be around asking, why the left backs and goalkeepers aren't scoring more goals. Actually, Gerhard Struber's trying as much as he can to make sure our left back is racking up the points on the sheet. But somebody posted a stat that like half of our goals have had John Tolkien involved, and it's because they come from corners. Do you think we'll score, over the next 3 games? Do you think we'll score a goal from the run of play in any of them?
Yeah, damn. Where's the tap-in meter at this point?
God, I forgot about that.
The tap-in meter was reset by Dante Van Zier. This MF dropped 1 goal, then dipped. Dropped 1 tap-in, then dipped.
Broke the backboard.
Yeah. Yeah, geez. Philly obviously plays a pretty tight defensive game. I mean, obviously they have a pretty similar style to how we play. City, though, I mean, DC is always such a wild card. But then City is, always liable to get kind of ripped up. They, even through all of their different phases the last few years, and certainly as Red Bull's form has dipped, City still plays the kind of Tottenham sort of tidy but soft sort of style, and are always liable to get blown out every once in a while. So maybe that's the game where we get our jollies.
I feel like we're gonna have that Liverpool Tottenham game, but instead of winning and at like the last minute of extra time, we'll get a goal to draw against City or something.
Yeah, well, that's kind of how our last. Oh, was that our last? But the game, where Klimala scored real late into stoppage time on the penalty was kind of
The
that
rain
vibe.
game, kind of, or no, that wasn't the rain game.
Because the rain game didn't actually end up happening. Right. Why was there so much stoppage time again?
I'm struggling to remember. Yeah,
I feel like Oh, I guess somebody. I think City got a red card and like badly hurt someone, and maybe that's why. But it's all salad in the wind now. I don't know. The prospect. I mean, this is almost certainly. I can say this 2 weeks out in advance with confidence. This is almost certainly going to be the lowest attended derby yet.
Yeah.
Especially on our end. And the lowest energy. Especially,
At least outside of like 2021 COVID held back.
Yeah. And we'll see. Because like also I think there's conversations ongoing in the supporters groups on like what to do now that we have home games and Struber is still around. Stay tuned to those groups to see what's going to happen. But like, people rightfully so are not like back in acting like nothing has happened. And also, as you may have noticed, the team sucks. So it's not a good recipe for being excited to beat your rivals. And also, as we've discussed a couple times, the fact that they went and got their little postseason cup, it kind of feels like crossing the Rubicon a little bit, where it's like, does it even really matter? Like, all of this kind of the air in the balloon has been punctured or has been let out a bit.
There are bigger issues at play.
Yeah.
No, strangely more existential issues now than City.
We did scope out the stadium site a little bit from inside City Field, and sure is a pile of rubble. But
they definitely have some couple backhoes kind of milling around.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, if they have a weird luxury box for me to take refuge in the ring,
they will.
And I can get some fancy donuts. Maybe.
There was a portion of the Mets game where we were taking refuge like on the lower level, like the lowest level, but the concourse, and it was kind of just like being on the Blue Point
Party
level,
deck.
yeah. Which I've honestly, if I go back to another game, maybe I will just spend a half there. I've never actually done that. It's probably not a bad view.
Yeah, probably not. What was even there before? Was it just random concession stands?
I think so. Yeah. Is Brizas gone? I feel like the last time I was
just
there,
been like kind of like assumed into the beast. Yeah,
they fell off.
the Delaware
Plus
North
L
beast.
plus ratio.
man. I thought last time I looked, I couldn't find him, but maybe they're just subsumed.
This is a Petite Greens podcast.
Yeah,
now.
that's so true.
God, remember Red Bull Arena? It's been
Red
fucking
Bull
forever.
Back in the day, they used to call it the Fortress of the League. Now it's been dwindled to nothing. Nobody goes there anymore. I used to fall asleep during rain delays at Red Bull Arena. Found me once. It was okay. Nobody falls asleep at Red Bull Arena anymore. Anyway, actually, I guess falling asleep is the one thing people might do there. Well,
I know that the Red Bulls have definitely worked better for me than like melatonin or something for making me sleepy.
yeah.
Every game I've watched, I've been dozing off like all season.
I've not
Yeah.
fell asleep during a game since the CJ Sapong hat trick game, like
Wow.
5 or 6 years ago. But testing me these days.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a well, I can't in good conscience say it's a big week. I can't in conscience say that something's going to happen. I think this is really becoming the defining feature of this. We sort of hit this theme during the Armas zone a couple times, but this enduring frustrating feeling of there actually not being any finality and there actually not being any sort of climax or catharsis is really what gnaws away at me. And I've been thinking about it a little bit, where all of these annoying, insane like AI posts that these like random people are making, the catchphrase that keeps popping up and over and over again. And I understand that it's now just probably a meme or a format that people are slotting into, but people are really obsessed with being like, oh, it's so over for blank. Like, oh, it's over for Hollywood, or like it's over for like women because now there's hot photos of women for some reason. Like that wasn't, or like, oh, now someone, can make a beer commercial instead. It's over. And it's like half the time it's like, what is it even over for? Like, what does that mean? But people seem to really crave there being a finality. You know, you can also insert this in just the part of the hyper normalization where he does all the clips of all the people looking up at explosions in the sky. Just to insert that here too. And I do think maybe that's part of it where, you know, there's something cathartic about thinking like, oh, the climate change is going to kill us all one day in like 20 years. Like, not really. We're kind of just the crabs being stuck in the boiling pot. It's kind of wishful thinking to think it'll just end one day. But no, Gerhard Struber's going to be here in 40 years. We got to plan for it. We got to do climate mitigation around Gerhard Struber. Can't just think that there's going to be a Struber meteor that's going to kill us. It's just going to be there in the background.
On an infinite timeline, he will win a trophy.
Yeah.
You just got to give him the runway.
You know, I was to prepare ourselves from Struber. Sorry,
Yeah.
to prepare ourselves for Struber floods, maybe we should just dig up a lot of dirt and surround him with a lot of land.
You know, the final
around him to
stage
protect
before
us.
a star dies is that it explodes really wide, and that's the point at which he wins the league before then condensing into the densest ball of pressing that anyone has ever seen. You know, when you go past the event horizon, nothing escapes. That's kind of like, you know, a soccer ball. Like a soccer ball going into the event horizon never escapes, so no one can score on you there.
Just think, a few years from now, we'll be able to say Metro makes we'll be able to say about Gerhard Struber, Metro makes and random Greek league minnows take.
Yeah, if Chris Armas ended up at Manchester United with you know, being photographed with Cristiano Ronaldo, where's Gerhard Struber gonna end up? I'm voting the NATO headquarters.
He's going to be the new Gunther Furlinger, but that's kind of a deep reference.
You did make me realize what Gerhard Struber's final pressing strategy is, and I think we've just been too small-brained to realize it, but he's just simply amassing so much of his ego so that he can form a literal black hole of pressing where the ball will just be absorbed by the amount of gravity that's generated from the well of ego that he's creating.
That just made me think the classic meme image of it's like a guy, you know, on the left side, it's a guy working out with really big arms, and then like speech bubble, it's just like, damn, where do you work out? And it's just kind of an enormous brain, and he just says the library. That's Gerhard Struber. You know? It's such a big brain. That's us. Well, do you think anything interesting is going to happen this week? That's our version of a prediction. Will something interesting happen? Will something novel happen?
I think we might win a game this week.
Yeah,
The odds are in our favor eventually. I mean, even the worst teams don't lose every single
I'm
game.
like on reverse gambler's fallacy at this point, that we're just gonna like nick one against Philly of all teams or something after not being able to do so for so long.
I do have the feeling. Do you get the feeling now that if Columbus is probably like, well, now that we know that,
what the fuck are we doing?
Yeah. I mean, they were the ones who scored that goal and immediately had like a tactical meeting. They're like, here's what we're going to do.
Well, we were just kind of fumbling about.
Yeah. Anything interesting? Well, at least next week we'll have a Barca Ehrenreich game to report back on. Potentially even a softball game or two. I don't know. We'll see. Are you going? Didn't you say you're going to talk about anime somewhere?
Oh, I mean that's already been talked about.
That's already been talked about.
Metro Fan TV. They're in like a licensing stasis with Zencastr. Should be coming out this month, I guess.
How does that happen?
I think Zencastr's free accounts only give you like 2 hours every month or something.
Oh, so they just have to like wait for the month to expire?
And it's Metro Fan TV, so that's like one episode, you know.
Ooh. Between that,
I was a guest, okay, you know.
Between that and me bothering Haddad for a Venmo payment while recording this episode, we're really
cracking the whip on podcasts.
We're really elbows out here. What's next? Obviously, we would never do anything rude to EDSS, our parent corporation.
Of course not.
Yeah. Well, is that it for now? All right.
Yeah, we'll talk to you in a couple of weeks. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, we'll see.
¿Sabes?